My name is Kaceli. In this comprehensive tutorial, we'll go over some of the basic stuff to start with and then understand some of the concepts and features of Microsoft Word 2016. Please hang along here throughout the whole tutorial and view as many of the modules as you can. This is designed so it can enhance your resume and understand how to use the latest version of Microsoft Word effectively for your job and in your career. We are going to cover some of the basic features such as getting started using the templates, understanding the Office ribbon concepts and what's new there, formatting the documents, applying styles to text, and then customizing existing format styles, creating a custom style, and using a format painter, using search and replace, then enhancing your document by inserting pictures, shapes, SmartArt, tables, charts, screenshots, online video in a document, hyperlinks, comments, headers and footers. Then we move into inserting page numbers, text boxes, and files from another document, a cover page, a page break, and then how to enhance the document, such as applying themes to the whole document, and also how to change the formatting of the document by changing the margins and changing the orientation, columns in the document, formatting the paragraph, and then using references for your document, such as table of contents, creating citations and bibliography, and then also doing mail merges, such as for labels, envelopes, and email merges as well. Finally, as a progression here, let's suppose that you have a big document or a big project to complete, check the grammar, finally check some of the research tools, insert comments, and then inspect the document before sharing it with other users. So stick around and check out as many of those modules as you can. And now we'll get started in a moment here with the first module for Microsoft Word 2016. In this session, I'm going to cover the most basic concepts in getting started with Word 2016. So we open Microsoft Word. You can either click here on the Word icon, or if you cannot locate it, you can simply type here Microsoft Word or just Word, and then choose Word 2016. Now this is new with newer versions of Word, particularly 2013 and 16 here, but notice you're presented here with a bunch of templates, so you can start a blank document, you can take a tour of Microsoft Word, or you can use one of those pre-designed templates that you are presented with. These are presented to you in the very beginning so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Now notice here on the left-hand side you also have the recent documents that you have been working with, and also you have the option here to open other documents in your computer. So let's assume that you wanted to use one of those templates. Instead of you redesigning something, you can simply click on one of those designs or templates and click to create it, and it's as simple as that, and then all you have to do is fill in this information in any of these fields. Let's go back to the previous window here. Notice that you can also search for templates online. So let's say I want brochure. Type what you want, and then you'll see here a listing of designs from the web. All you have to do, like we did earlier, you can click on it and then it will open up and change it. Notice you also have these options here on the right hand side, so feel free to check those out as well. Open it. Now click on create. Notice it has all the components and you do not have to reinvent the wheel. So the third scenario here is how to create a new document. So of course, let's assume that we don't need these whatsoever and we are starting from scratch. You'll find the Microsoft Word and you'll click on a blank document. Once you click on a blank document, now you're presented with the interface for Microsoft Word. So before we get any further here, I'll just take a couple more minutes and explain just some of the components that exist here in Word 2016. It's very similar to the previous versions that you're used to using. However, it probably helps for somebody who is starting. So notice here, you have these different tabs here on the very top. You have the Home tab, the Insert tab, you have the design tab, the layout tab, and so on. The tabs here, along with all of these different icons within each one of the tabs, and those icons are simply different functions that you can perform in a document using Microsoft Word. Notice that those functions are also grouped together. So for example, all the stuff that has to do with the fonts, it's under the font block here, or grouping. Anything that has to do with paragraphs or styles, it's under the paragraph grouping here, or styles grouping. If you go under the Insert tab, similar thing as well. You have here anything that has to do with illustrations, it's in its own grouping, and so on. So the way those tabs work, they are organized in the order that you'd most likely work with in a document. So particularly if you're working on a brand new document, you're going to create the content, format the text, paragraphs, apply some styles, then you're going to insert stuff to the document, such as pictures and tables and such, and then you're going to change the layout to the document, you're going to add some references, potentially you might be doing some mailings and so on, and then finally you might be doing some review for it, checking spelling and such. And then under the View tab here, you'd be able to read it to finalize before you send that document or project to somebody. So again, the concept to understand here is that they are organized in a certain way. The icons are grouped together, and the tabs are in a specific order depending on the work that you're doing. Notice also you have the File menu. This is back from, if you remember, in Office 2007, that was taken away. Notice you have some additional options here, how to save the document, how to print it, share it, export it, and so on. Notice if you wanted to change also options within your application, you'd go under Options here, and this is where you can customize additional settings related to Microsoft Word in your computer. Now you could change here, for example, the themes, or you could change the display, and but one of the things that you might want to change and might end up changing at some point is this save location as well. So just check those out, and nothing is going to be broken as long as you potentially take note of what you're changing. Now here on the very top left, you have what's called a Quick Access Toolbar. The Quick Access Toolbar has the most commonly used functions here, and you can customize this to add additional items as well. So notice I clicked here on the drop down. You can put here the email icon or attach icon. Now if you wanted also an icon here, let's say for inserting pictures, well, all you have to do is you right click here and choose to add it to Quick Access Toolbar, and now the option to add pictures, it's added to the Quick Access Toolbar. So again, Quick Access Toolbar, it serves for you to get quickly to whatever you need to do. Another thing to remember here is that notice we don't see the ruler anywhere in this document. So this is the area, of course, where you type your document and such. So if you need to view additional components here, you can choose to, under the View tab, you want to customize to show the ruler for the document. You can even have grid lines if you needed to, and navigation pane as well if you need it to. Additionally, before I finalize this quick session here, notice that on the bottom right here, you have also options for zooming in and out of the document, and you have the various different layouts for this specific document, whether you want to do a read mode or the print layout mode. Here on the left, you also have the page numbers and the words in this specific document. If you click on any of these options here, it will give you more information about your document. Finally, one quick feature, and this is new in Word 2016, is that let's say you're on the Home tab here and you don't know how to do something. Well, Office 2016 has this option here that you can, it says, tell me what you want to do. So if you wanted to change, let's say, the margins, you simply type margins here, and notice it gives you all the potential options here. So you don't necessarily have to know where an option is, even though I'm going to explain it in this tutorial. So you click here on Adjust Margins, and it gives you all the different options for margins, even though you're not in that specific tab. If you're not sure as to how to do something, you can also click here on Get Help on Margins, and it'll take you to the online help for Office 2016 directly from Microsoft. So some of those options, we'll learn them as well as we go, but I thought it would be helpful for you to know about this feature. Tell me what you want to do. So hopefully that is helpful. Stay tuned. We'll get started in a moment. The next segment here on getting started with a document, doing some of the basic functions in a document. In this session, we are going to get started using and working with a document, with the basic functions here in the document. So if you wanted to create a document from scratch, of course, just click here on the white space and simply start typing. For the sake of simplicity at this point, I'm going to just go ahead and bring in a document that has just some plain text, and we'll work with that specific document. Let's assume that we have this document. You typed it. There's nothing special about it. I copied and pasted this, and by the way, this is the credit for the document where I got the information from. So all it is, it's about 24 pages of text. Let's assume that we have this long document that we want to tweak at this point as we learn how to use Word 2016. So just a couple of things for you to remember here is that if we wanted to change any of this stuff about this document, notice that if we want to change the font, of course, select it and then simply choose a different font here. Change the size. Notice that some of the icons, so you can make it bigger or smaller. Notice some of them, they also have a drop down that you can customize to make everything lowercase or uppercase. Or, for example, in the case of the spacing here or the font, just as a key concept here is that there's additional options and drop downs. Additionally, remember there are also these options here to expand and customize, for example, anything related to the fonts. And this is very similar to the old interface. So as you are working with text, so let's assume that this is your text that you're working with. Notice that as soon as I release the mouse after I select the text, there is this mini toolbar. The mini toolbar has some of the quick options that you could potentially use here in Microsoft Word, whether it's related to the font or some of the basic functionality to it, so that you don't have to reach with the mouse up here on the top or under the ribbon, but you're basically tweaking this simply without moving the mouse too far. So again, you select it, the quick mini toolbar shows up, and you pick the option that you want to utilize. The other thing as we get started here is that if you're not sure as to what something does here, remember that you can always hold the mouse on the icon and it will show you what that does. So it gives you a description of what that function is and what it does. I could select those, and this is basically using the bulleted lists. So if I want just simply dots here, notice I just selected the text, chose this. If I want a different particular kind, I can simply click on the drop down and pick one of those. Or if I wanted numbers, you can do it like that. If for some reason you want to customize something within the bulleted list, you can change the levels. You can customize down here as well by set the numbering style and things of that nature as well. So the tip here is that the computer is not going to break. Just tinker with all the different options. If you want to learn the program and the application here, click on the various different options and see what they do. That's the best way to learn an application on your own as well, besides following this tutorial, of course. So in the next segment here, I'm going to go over how to utilize styles in formatting text and making it easier to provide consistency in the document and save you time. So stay tuned for the next segment. In this session, I'm going to go over using styles in a document. Styles in Word 2016 are a powerful tool that can help you provide consistency throughout the document by applying the same properties throughout the document as you're formatting it, as well as save you time. So how do you apply styles? All you have to do is you select the section of your document here, and let's assume that we want to make this heading number 1. So simply click on heading number 1 here, And by the way, these are the list of styles here. Notice you have a drop down as well here to see the other styles in the document. Now this feature here of you holding the mouse on the text here, this is called the live preview. It gives you a preview of what it would look like if you were to select that option before you even click on it. So let's assume that we want this for heading number 1. So you basically go throughout the document here and you apply the different styles for this particular document. Now my suggestion is that you apply heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3 styles and so on throughout the document. The reason for that is that later, if you have a long document, you can also create a table of contents directly from the styles that you applied throughout your document. And the table of contents will be generated only if you have heading 1 and so on styles. Now, if you don't like how something looks like at this point, what you can do is that we'll go and modify the style to your liking, and then that will be updated throughout the document automatically. So basically, you don't like something, you can tweak the heading 1 style, but you need the heading 1 style to create the table of contents later. I'll also show you how to create custom styles from scratch here in a moment. You get the idea here. We apply the heading styles throughout the document depending on the layout and the organization of your document. So for example, this would be heading 1, this would be heading 2, and then you scroll down in your document and you apply the other heading. So this, let's assume it will be heading number 3. You could even apply this as a heading number 4. Let's assume that's heading number 2. And notice here we had the technical underpinnings, and then we have the development plan, and then we have the essential information protection. That probably falls under what we covered earlier. So you do that throughout your document. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is that, like I mentioned earlier, if I wanted to change how heading number 2 looks like, and notice if I clicked here, it shows heading number 2, that's the one selected. To modify a specific style, I have 2 options. I could simply either customize the text here the way I want it. So for example, I want this to be larger. And let's say I want that to be bold. And then I want this to go all the way to the left here. Notice I can go here since I have the ruler showing, and if you don't have the ruler, you can go under View and choose Ruler here. Notice it shows up or it disappears. Go here to the Home tab, and I'm going to move this to the left so that my text is all the way in the left. Now we are kind of deviating what we were trying to do to explain here as far as the heading 1 style, but basically we're tweaking this the way we like it to be showing up. And then I'm going to make this, let's say, orange color, so it kind of stands out for us. And let's say I want the font to be a different font. Let's say I want the Calibri here, and I want that to be 20 points. Now what you can do is, now that I have tweaked heading 1 here the way I like it, I can simply select it, and you can right-click on the heading style up here, and it says Update Heading 1 to Match Selection. We're telling the computer to update any heading 1 styles wherever we have applied them, and even though we have not applied them yet, to be however we chose this to look. We click here and update, and now notice if I scroll down, we'll find out here that wherever I applied here, for example, it was heading 1, that has been updated, and notice in the other options as well. Now, if I wanted to update heading number 2, I could do the same thing. I could simply highlight this, change the font, and let's say I want to make that blue, design it however I like it, and then I can choose to update it. And now notice if I scroll down throughout the document here, you'll see that heading 2 has been updated to what we chose earlier. Now, let's say that we still want to tweak this. We want to make it underlined or whatever. What you can do is you can select it, go under heading 2, choose Modify, and then notice you can just change properties. So again, you can modify this 2 different ways. You can either tweak it first and then update it. I think that's the easiest one. or you can simply right click and then tweak with all kinds of other properties here as well. So you can change, for example, I want it underlined, I press this, it will be underlined. You can also change the formatting, the border, the frame, the numbering, text effects, and all kinds of other stuff, and you can tweak that on your own. Just remember, if you change it, you need to also update it automatically as well. You click OK, and now if we scroll up or down here, wherever this was applied in the document, it will be automatically updated with the underlining. Same thing with heading number 3. So we'll go and find the heading number 3 wherever we applied it. So this is, for example, heading number 4. Typically, you can't use heading number 4 until you have used heading 3, but in any case, I think heading number 3 is this one right here. So you can tweak this however you want it again. And then simply right-click, update heading 3 to match selection, and that will update all instances. Let's say we want to do this as well. Update heading 4, and now it has been applied throughout the document. So using the styles, it's a very powerful feature and strongly recommended because it will save you time and it will provide consistency throughout the document. Now let's assume that you wanted to create a new style of some sort. So let's say anywhere in the document I want a new type of style. Again, you can customize it the way you want. Let's make it something completely different here. And now what you can do is you can select this, and you could click on Styles here on the mini toolbar, or you can click on the drop down here on the top under the Styles area, and you have an option to create a new style. So you can just give it a name, let's say Sally, and then click OK. Now, if I want to apply this wherever I want it applied, I can simply go and apply the Sally style. If I wanted to tweak it, I could simply either tweak it from here and update it, or I can tweak it from the top and modify it over here. That's how cool styles are. Strongly suggested that you use them in your documents because it's very powerful in creating also the table of contents, and it will save you time and provide consistency throughout the document. In this session, I'm going to demonstrate how to use the Format Painter in Word 2016. Format Painter, what it does is basically you can format a bunch of text a certain way to look a certain way, and then you can copy the formatting and paste it to another section of text. It's very similar to copy and paste, but the difference is that it's going to copy and paste the formatting properties. So let's assume that we have this bunch of text here, and we have this blue color, and it's underlined and all that type of stuff, and I'm going to change the font as well to a different font here. Now let's say that I wanted to apply that somewhere else in the document here as well. So what you do is you go to the area which has that specific formatting. You select it, and then you click on Format Painter. It's going to seem like nothing happened. Now notice it has this broom type of thing. You select where you want to apply it, and notice I'm leaving out a couple words in the end here, and then you let the mouse go. As soon as that happens, notice it copied all the properties from the first area here to the other section where we applied the format painting. So it's just as easy as that. In this next session, I'm going to go over one of the features that pretty much everybody should know if they want to be productive in your work. How to search for something in your document and replace it with something else, but make sure that all instances of it are replaced in your document. So let's assume that we want to find the word computers and change it with PCs for whatever reason. So you go here under Replace in the Home tab, and we want to find the word computers. And like I said, we want to replace it with PCs. Now notice you have additional options here as well. You can choose to match the case, match only whole words, and you can also use wildcards as well if you need it. That is basically if you want the word computer and to include also the computers and so on. So multiple variations of it. So now notice also you can check on formatting, paragraph, and all kinds of other options as well, specific paragraph marks and so on, and I'll try to demonstrate that in a moment here. So now we click here on Find Next, and that would be the best option here to find, for example, computers here, and it's going to replace it. So there were 3 instances of the word computers in this document. We could also have chosen, if we were sure that all instances matched what we wanted, we could have chosen here to replace it all, to replace all of it. The other feature that I'll try to show you here, it's very powerful, is you want to make sure that in your document there are no extra paragraph spaces. For example, we want to take anywhere where there are more than 1 paragraph space, we want to replace it with only 1 paragraph space there to fix the whole document. Of course, right now I'm messing it up on purpose so we can fix it in a moment. So the search and replace capability comes in very handy here. Besides searching and replacing for text, you can search and replace other components such as spacing and things of that nature in your document. Now, for you to see the hidden characters in the document, you need to click on this little icon here, and that's what will demonstrate or show where the extra spaces are. So for example, here we have an extra paragraph space, here we have 2 of them, and so on. So that we have this document and it has all these additional spaces that we want to take out. Instead of you going throughout the document and taking them all out manually, what you can do is you can do a search and replace for anything that is the new paragraph or end of the paragraph there, that these empty areas. So we click here on replace, and then what you do is you go here under special. So we want to find the paragraph mark, wherever the paragraph mark is located. So we click on this paragraph mark, and we want to find wherever there are 2 of them, and we want to replace them with only 1 paragraph mark. Then we click on Find Next, and notice it should find this next one right there. And then we click on Replace. And then we go and replace the next one, or we could replace them all. Now notice it found 9 locations, and at this point, I'm closing that. It should be that no areas in my document should have 2 paragraph marks in there. And you can do that for the same thing for tabs. If you want to remove all the tabs in the document, you can do a search and replace for tabs and so on. So it's a key feature in the word processing that is very valuable to save you time, provide consistency, and enhance your resume as well in knowing how to do these features. In this session, I'm going to continue with the other features of Microsoft Word in order to enhance our document here that we are working with and learn some of those features as well. So earlier we learned how to use the items here under the Home tab, such as the paragraph and format painter and styles and search and replace and so on. So now typically, as we mentioned earlier, you have the Office ribbon that has those features and functions grouped together depending on the task that you are performing. So now that we are done with the basic stuff in our document here, in formatting certain components and applying styles, now we want to insert additional components to it to make it even fancier. In this case, let's go under the Insert tab, and here you can insert all kinds of other stuff, but we're going to start here with the illustrations, and we'll come back through all these other options as well in a moment here. So let's say we want to insert pictures. Now we want to enhance this document and we want to get some pictures of, let's say, Microsoft Word or PCs or whatever it is that we might want. We go here under Insert and then we click on Pictures. The Pictures, you can get them directly from the computer in this case, because it's going to get them. And notice here I have Office 2016. Notice in this case, this image is quite large, so you can resize it. I'm sure you know how to do this by simply dragging the corners. It's recommended that you use the corner handles rather than using the middle points here, because this resizes it proportionately. Now that the image has been inserted here, if you double click on the image, notice there is a Picture Tools option that shows up, or one of the other tabs here. As soon as we click on the picture here, it opens up with Picture Tools. If we double click, it'll actually open that whole ribbon. Here, these are tools, and they are referred to as contextual tools. Basically, tools that are displayed on the ribbon based on the context of what we are doing. So in this case, we have picture styles. Remember the text styles? We could change and tweak the text within the document. Here we could format this picture by simply applying a variety of other styles to it, depending on how we want it. Let's say we want it this way. You can change the border, other picture effects, and again, like I mentioned in one of the previous segments, in order to really learn the application, just click on the various options and see how you can tweak and tinker with it, and that's the best way to learn about it. Now, the other thing that you can do here is that you can also customize the position, where you want this picture to show up. So you can simply click a specific position on your document, and let's say we want it in the middle of the document, the left, and all that type of thing. So I'm going to leave it alone for now so that I can show you one of the other features before we can tweak and tinker with that. So let's suppose that we want the text to be wrapped around the picture here, and this is a very important concept for you to understand. And that has to do with what's called text wrapping, or wrap text for this image. So what you do is you click on the image and you choose then wrap text. Here you can tell the system how do you want the text wrapped around this picture. You click, let's say, on tight, and notice now the text will be tightly integrated around the picture. Since we chose that option, we can also drag this and place it wherever we want in the document, and then the text will kind of self-adjust around this specific image that we picked. And notice there is also a little icon here next to it to choose the different layout options, and you can apply whichever option you prefer in that case. So that's an important component for you to remember here. Notice also you can use the crop tools. We don't really need to crop this much at this point, but if we needed to, just crop it from whichever direction and click crop again, and now it has been cropped. If for some reason you choose to undo one of those options, you can simply go back here, and it will be the way we had it from earlier. So this is basically using the back and forward options, or undo and redo options. So that is applying pictures from the computer, or inserting pictures from the computer. Now in Office 2016, you also, the clip art option, it's actually no longer available if you see here, if you note here. So what they did was Microsoft has you go online for pictures and access pictures online. So you simply click on online pictures, and then it's going to use the Bing search engine for you to search for various pictures. So let's say computer, hit enter. It's going to give you a whole bunch of computers. Now remember, some of those are copyrighted material, so you need to really kind of be cautious if you're going to use those for marketing and commercial products and so on. So you pick what you want from here, assuming that the copyright stuff is correct, and then click on what you want, click on insert, and this is very similar to clip art in previous versions of Microsoft Word. Again, you can resize this and apply any of these picture tools that we learned about earlier, and then choose the text wrapping, tight, and then move it wherever you prefer to have this. So that's inserting pictures from online. The other thing that you can do is also you can insert various shapes in this document. So for whatever reason you want to make a diagram or an arrow or whatever the case may be, simply click on the shape here that you want, and then drag it. That's the difference. That's a trick here in Microsoft, or when using shapes, that you have to drag it. The other thing to remember here, as soon as we insert the shape, notice that you have a new set of tools, the contextual tools, and you can change here the design for your new object that you inserted. You can change different properties and position and the wrapping as well, so you could actually make that so it's tightly wrapped as well within the text. So notice the text will be self-adjusting around it. One key thing to remember here as well is that you can rotate it by using this handle right here, and rotate this object any which direction that you prefer. So that is inserting shapes in your document. Next, and we're going to do this in a different video segment, we're going to learn how to insert SmartArt. It's a very powerful feature, so stay tuned to how to use it. In this next session, we're going to learn how to use SmartArt in Microsoft Word 2016. Microsoft Word, starting with Office 2007, has this feature called SmartArt. SmartArt is basically a graphic to visually demonstrate or communicate information. So let's say we are talking about computer security, and you probably are familiar with this, the confidentiality, integrity, and availability, or as they refer to as a CIA of information security. Instead of us representing this data in this format by simply using bullets, which seems okay, what we could do is we could insert SmartArt. So you go here under SmartArt, and then you pick one of the designs from here. So you basically could type this. I choose the design that I want, and this will be adjusted automatically. Notice you can close this typing area of the text, and notice you have this handle to show this anytime in the future, or you could change it directly from the diagram at this point. Of course, you can resize it. And if for some reason you do not like this diagram, you can pick a different one and convert it into a different one. Also, you can change the colors. So basically, you're applying different styles again to this type of object as well. So as you kind of see, it's very powerful in representing something. So notice this is what we are representing, but now this is a little bit more useful potentially here for us. So again, using SmartArt, it's a way for you to represent something in a graphical, to communicate something in a graphical way to your audience or to your reader. In this session, I'm going to demonstrate very briefly as to how to use tables in a document in Microsoft Word. So let's assume that we want to insert a table in this location for this document. So all you have to do is you go under the Insert tab, click on the table, and then you can either pick one of the quick tables from here, or you can design your own. So let's say I want 5 columns and 3 rows right there, and the table has been created automatically. Now notice as soon as we insert the table, you have these table styles. Again, remember, just like with text and images and so on, you can apply predefined styles to your objects that you're working with, depending on what you're doing. Notice there are additional styles here that you could apply as well. So just pick one of those styles and customize it further if you needed to. Notice you have also under the layout here, you can customize to delete or change properties or insert and indent the text and all that type of thing regarding your table here in Word 2016. So the idea again is to insert the table, pick however you want it, and then adjust it by going to the Design tab and going to the Layout tab. Notice if you need to adjust the width of each column here, notice here under the ruler area, and if you don't have the ruler area here in view, you could go under View and choose to show the ruler. Now from this area, you can adjust the width of these columns as well. So that's basically how to insert tables in Microsoft Word. In this session, I'm going to also demonstrate how to create charts or how to insert charts in a document in Microsoft Word. A lot of times when you're creating a report or major document or whatever, it may involve in using data as well. And by the way, I'll have another video on importing, linking Excel with Microsoft Word. That's another tutorial that will be coming shortly here, but this is basically how to insert a chart within a document. So we click here on Chart under the Insert tab, and then basically you pick the design that you want for your chart. Notice you have a live preview of whatever the chart is going to look like. So let's assume I want just a column chart for now, and then click OK. At this point, notice as soon as it inserts the chart, notice you have this Excel-like data entry form here. So it says Series 1. Well, maybe you'd want the months here. So basically you have to plug in the data at this point. And then let's say this is the average sales in millions, for example. And you get the idea. Then you'd plug in the numbers. So let's say this was 7.8. In February it was 2.7. And in March it was 6.9. Now notice the table here is being updated automatically. Now the other thing to notice as well, and I'm going to try to make this bigger or navigate through a little bit, notice that we don't need this category 4. What we can do here is that we can actually exclude that. So instead of deleting it, because if you deleted it, notice what happens. It just leaves it still there, but it's just going to be blank. What you need to do is you need to move this blue area, hold the mouse on it until it changes to double arrow, and then drag it up. And let it go, and now notice the chart, it's going to be automatically readjusting for your display here in your document. Now, if I click outside of the chart here or close this at any point here, notice now it's ready and I can resize this however I want. You can change the title, of course. Now, if you wanted to change additional properties for this, you can double click on it again. And notice you have the design area and you can change and utilize a different style again for your charts here. And you could tweak this however you need it to. Make it much fancier, as you can see. And you can change also the quick layout if you needed to. You can change colors if you prefer to, and other options as well as editing the data here as well. If you don't like the same type chart or type of chart that you picked, you can change it from here. Notice there's also another tab here under Contextual Tools where you can adjust the formatting for this. And keep in mind here for the chart as well, under the formatting, there's also the option for text wrapping. So text wrapping, it's a really important concept to understand for all types of objects that you use in your document. So I choose here wrap tightly around the text here, and now notice the chart can be part of my document. In this next session, I'm going to talk about inserting or using the screenshot feature in Microsoft Word 2016. So let's assume we have this document here, and now we want to insert a snapshot, whether we are doing documentation on how to do something or whatever the case may be. So what you do is you go under the Insert tab or you click on Screenshot here, and notice you can either clip the screen or you can pick from one of the available windows. So in my case, I'm going to do a screen clipping first. So I click on screen clipping. And now at this point, I could pick part of my screen. And now that has been inserted in my document. Now this, you could use it for creating a manual or creating directions or whatever it may be within your document. And notice here, this is basically just like another image that I inserted in the document. I can go here and customize this and make it look differently and so on, and apply the various different styles related to the images in the document. The other thing you can do is you can go and take, actually, if you go here under the insert, under screenshot, so you have to have something opened in your computer, and then you can take a screenshot of an application that you may have opened in your computer. And then, of course, resize this however you need to. But personally, I think the screen clipping, it's going to be the one that is more useful in this case. Another cool feature in Word 2016 is the ability to insert media directly from online, such as a video from online. So to insert video from online, you click on Insert here, you go to Online Video, and then you can search for videos, whether it's from Bing or from YouTube and so on. So if you go here, you're searching for a specific video, you click on it, and then click on Insert, and there is the video directly, the link from YouTube. And this is a new feature in Office 2016. Now at this point, of course, you could customize this if you needed to and format it differently, just like an image in your document, including the positioning of it in the document. In this brief video, I'm going to demonstrate how to utilize the hyperlink feature in a document in Word 2016. Well, it's basically you're linking to a document or to a resource outside of your document here. So let's assume we want to learn how to customize privacy settings in Windows 10. And we want to have a link so that whoever we send this document to, they can go and click on that link and go to that video directly online, or to that article directly online, or whatever it may be the case. So what you can do is you can simply select the text that you want to hyperlink, and then click on Hyperlink, and then instead of directly linking to an existing file here, you can link to a URL to a web page out there. So now what we do before we can do that part, we go here to the web and we find the video that you want or the article that you want, copy the URL. Now we bring this down, and then here under the address that we opened earlier, we can open it again. So I have highlighted this, click on Hyperlink, go ahead and paste it in there, and then click OK. Now at this point, notice that it says press Control-click to take you directly to that video. So if I do Control down, hold down the Control key, it will take me to the video or to that article on the web. So that's how you use hyperlinks in a document. And this was just to the website, to a web document, but or to a website, but you can also link to a document in your computer as well. In this brief session, I'm going to go over how to insert a comment in a document in Microsoft Word 2016. So let's say in this link here, I want to make a note or a comment. I'm reviewing this document for someone and I want to make a comment for it. So all that you have to do is you go here under the Insert tab and you want to insert a comment. You select the text area and you click on Comment. And you could say, and so on, or put something else. And then you go to other places in your document as well, and you can put additional comments as well. So this, you could be using it for grading student papers, or you can use it for making comments for other people that you're collaborating with. Now, if for some reason you don't want that comment in there anymore, you can simply right-click on it and choose Delete Comment. Or if you were to go under the Review tab, and it's in Office 2016 that Microsoft actually put it in the Insert tab here, but it's also under the Review tab here, and you can choose to delete a comment or create a new comment. Now that we deleted it, it's all gone. So that is basically inserting comments in a document. It's more for collaboration and working in a team and so on. In this next session, I'm going to demonstrate how to insert headers and footers in a document. So if you notice here in my document, I don't have any headers or footers. So what you can do anywhere in your document, go ahead and simply click on Insert and then click on, let's say, Header. Now notice, as soon as you click on the drop-down, you have all these different templates. Now this depends from version to version. Now with Office 2016, there are more options in here for you to utilize. So pick any of those designs, and basically you put in there the title of the document, and this has the date field in there, but you could change that to insert additional options in there instead of the date field. Or you could simply pick a different design. So if you go here under the Insert and choose headers and footers, if I wanted a different design here, a different header, that's my different header. Now for inserting a footer, go under Insert and then choose Footer, and then choose the type of footer that you want to apply to your document. And there's my footer here. In my case here, I didn't, when I chose a design, under Insert here for footers, it's not giving me a complete preview for some reason. I think it's because of the resolution that I'm using here for recording, but you should also be able to see in here a little preview of what it would look like. Now notice as you're in the header or the footer area, so let's say we go to the header here, double click on it. Notice they have the contextual tools for the header and footer area. So you have the formatting of the header and footer. You can change the design however you prefer it, and other components as well. But you can also have here the type under the design here, the design tab, you can choose. So if we go to the very top, and notice you have to be slightly outside of the box here, but you can choose to make it a different header and footer on the first page if you want a different one for the first page. And then notice right now the first page doesn't have that, but there are other pages they do. So this is if you're doing a report, you don't want the header on the first page. That's how you'd enable or disable that. And also you can change to it for odd and even pages from here as well. Notice that you can insert other stuff here, for example the page number, the top of the page or in the bottom of the page or whatever, and so on. You can also change to insert here other quick parts such as document properties, whether you want the author or whether you want the date or the status or the title of the document and things of that nature as part of your header and footer as well here. So the big idea is that you go under the Insert tab, you choose the header and footer, you pick a design, and then once you're in that header and footer area, further customize it by utilizing the contextual tools here under the Design tab and the Formatting tab. In this next session, I'm going to demonstrate how to use a text box in a document in Microsoft Word 2016. It may seem very simple and basic, but it's actually a pretty cool feature, especially in the new version of Microsoft Word 2016. So what you do is you go here in the document, wherever in your document, and let's say we want to insert a text box. So you go under the Insert tab, and then you go under Text Box. Now here you have different types of designs that you could pick from. So let's say I like this kind of design here. Notice it has a cool design there. All you have to do is just put some text here. And there you have your text box. If you wanted to change it or make adjustments to it, again, remember the concept is that you can double click on it and click on the various tools related to this particular object, and of course using other functionalities as well. or options within this. Remember, you can always resize it and move it wherever you need to move it. So that's basically using a text box within a document. In this next session, I'm going to demonstrate how to insert text from another document in Microsoft Word. A lot of times we have two documents and we want to merge them together. Of course, one of the ways is to copy and paste the document from one to the other and so on. But how do you do it? By using the commands or options in here. So the way to do that is by clicking on the Insert tab here, and you go under Object, and besides inserting an object, you can insert text from a file. So text from a file, then you go ahead and find the other file, and notice it's just going to paste it in here. So now I had 20 pages, now I have 46 pages in my document. So it's as simple as that. Other things that you can insert here, and since we are in this session, let's learn as far as that you can also insert additional components such as equations in your document or additional symbols here as well. In this session, I'm going to briefly demonstrate how to insert drop caps for specific areas or parts of your document. So let's say you're creating a brochure, creating a fancy document or flyer. What you can do is you can go to wherever your paragraph or the text is that you want to have a drop cap, go right in front of it, click on Insert, go under Drop Cap, and then choose the style that you want. And then repeat that basically for other sections of your document. And that's how you do it in less than a minute. Before we move any further in our study of Microsoft Word, or in our tutorial on using Microsoft Word 2016, let's also learn how to utilize and insert a couple of things here under Pages on the Insert tab. So let's learn how to insert a cover page. The cover page, all you have to do is click on Insert here, and you have various templates or designs that you can apply to your document. So click on whichever design you want, and even though you might be later in the document in a lower page, let's say later page 30 or page 15 and so on, Microsoft Word is smart enough to actually insert that as the very first page of your document. Now here you could simply put the subtitle, change the image if you prefer to, put a little abstract, and then you're all good to go with the cover page for this specific document. Note as well that if you had page numbers or if it had already the headers and footers, it's not going to apply them to the cover page because that has the cover page properties applied to it. Again, you can tweak it further by using the design and changing the layout tools and contextual tools that exist here under the ribbon. So that is using a cover page in a document. In this session, we'll learn how to insert a blank page and a page break in a document in Microsoft Word. So suppose we have this long document here, and we have the cover page in the very beginning, but then we also want to have a blank page starting somewhere in here. So what we do is we can go under the Insert tab and simply click on Insert Blank Page, and now we have a blank page on page 2. Now, or page 1 in that case. If we wanted a page break, and a page break, let's suppose that we want to end right here. And no matter how we do formatting in the future, we want this computer security here to always be on a new page. So in order to do that, what we do is that we put in here somewhere, we put in under Insert, we can put a page break. And that basically is saying end the page here and move whatever is after this page break to a new page in my document. So we click on page break, and now notice there is this. So now even if this were to overflow at some point in the future, let's say I formatted it differently, notice it's going to leave the next section of the document here blank even though there was space. So basically, wherever the page break is, it's going to always be at the beginning of another page. Now the question is, let's say I changed my mind and I want to delete that page break. What's the easiest way for me to go ahead and delete it and remove the page break? That's a little bit tricky, but of course it can be done. So if you go here under the Home tab and you go here to show and hide the paragraph marks or hidden characters, notice right here it says page break. So all you need to do is, again, we have showed here the hidden characters. All we have to do is we press backspace to delete the page break, or select it, press delete, and now it will bring the whole text up again. So that's how you add a page break to a document, and that's how you remove it as well. In this session, I'm going to demonstrate and utilize the design feature in Microsoft Word 2016. This is a new tab in this version of Microsoft Word, and we have this option for design. So here, for example, you can go under any object in your document, and you can apply a design theme throughout your document or to various components within your document so that it provides consistency and such. So basically what you can do is go here under design and then select an object in your document, and let's say I want to make that the title. Notice this is a live preview. That's how it's going to change whatever I'm trying to tinker with here. So what it's doing actually is that it's formatting my complete document here to look a certain way with certain pre-designed components. Notice how each is shifting here. Everything is kind of shifting in my document, whether it's the styles here for heading 1, heading 2, or other components as well. So that's utilizing these themes. Notice it's applying that specific design that I just chose, including it's changing even the text to my document. It's applying it throughout the document. So notice considerations, this was not in blue earlier. The other thing you can do is you can go here under theme, and it's going to color coordinate all the objects within your document. So notice how it's changing here my headings and such depending on what object I'm live previewing here. So this makes it so that all the components within the document, they kind of match together. So notice it matched now the headings, it matched the footers, it matched the graphics, the tables, the other objects that we had inserted in the document here. So it's a pretty neat feature. Try it, and you can customize it further by inserting and changing the colors here and things of that nature. Notice as well that you can change the page color if you needed to. And you can add a watermark as well. So if you're in an office environment and you want to add a confidential or do not copy or whatever else component to it, you can put a watermark to your document. So that's how you briefly utilize the features here in the Design tab in Word 2016. In this next session, we are going to learn a little bit about the layout, modifying the layout of your document in Microsoft Word 2016. So let's say we have this document, we tweaked the fonts, we tweaked all kinds of other components, then we inserted pictures and all kinds of other fancy stuff in our document, and then we changed the design, and that's why we have this reddish look to it at this point. Now we'll go under the layout. At this point, let's say we want to change the margins for this document. So we are learning how to change the margins. If we go, and I'm going to unhide these paragraph marks at this point, or hidden characters. To change the margins, we go under the Layout tab, and then we click on Margins. Now in here you can pick an existing design or parameters that are pre-specified, for example 0.5 inches on all corners, and click on it, and you'll notice that it's going to apply those changes throughout the document automatically. if you wanted custom ones, you click on margins here again, and you go to custom margins, and this is where you can change the spacing on the very top, on the left, and then on the right, and so on, whether you want to change landscape and so on. Also, you can choose here to apply this to the whole document or from this point forward. So let's say that you needed a couple pages that needed a specific format only. Let's say I need this page to be in landscape mode. Well, all I have to do is I go here under the layout, choose margins, custom margins, change it to landscape, and then I say this point forward. Then click OK. Now at this point, all my other pages, subsequent pages, the previous pages are going to be portrait. The other pages, following pages, are going to be in landscape. Now if I wanted to change it again, let's say at some point here, to start again in portrait, I go here under custom margins and then choose portrait, and then from this point forward, change it again to portrait. Now notice my middle pages here are in landscape, and the top ones are in portrait, and the bottom ones are in portrait as well. So that's how you change the margins and also the orientation for specific pages in your document. Now notice also you can change it from here, the orientation, to landscape or portrait, but that's going to do it for the whole document. In this session, I'm going to demonstrate how to create columns and basically format your document to use columns and so on to make it more visually appealing. So the way it works is that you can go to Layout here, the Layout tab, and then you go under Columns. And if you wanted just columns throughout your document, let's say 2 columns or whatever you need, you simply click on 2, and then it's going to apply it throughout that section in your document. Now, if you don't want that, and I'm going to undo this part here, you can simply go to a specific section, select it, and then click on columns, and then click on more columns, or you can just choose 2 for that here, if you wanted just 2. Notice once we selected it, it applied it to just that specific section. The other thing you can do is you can go under columns, more columns, and this is where you can customize it even further. Let's say you want a line in between, and you can how many columns you want and that type of thing, and then also where it applies, whether it applies to the whole document or to the selected section or to the whole document as well. And now we have 2 columns there, and that's how you basically utilize columns in your document in the page layout for your document. In this session, I'm going to demonstrate how to create a table of contents in Microsoft Word 2016. There are 2 things that you have to do in order to successfully generate a table of contents. First, you have to have a document, and the document has to have sections that you can apply. For example, it's heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, and heading 4. Basically, you need to organize the document in such a way that it kind of makes sense. Then the second step is that you have to apply the actual heading for those sections. So for example, we have here this section. Let's assume this is heading number 1. So we click here under Styles and choose heading number 1. We're not going to worry at this point as far as how this looks and all that type of stuff. If you're interested in customizing the styles, just check the video on customizing and utilizing styles. Now, if you go to the next one here, let's assume this would be heading number 2 because it potentially falls under this subsection. So we choose heading number 2, and then we go further here throughout the document, and let's assume that this would be again heading number 1. Just tap on heading number 1. That would be, let's say, heading number 1. Here, let's assume heading number 2, number 2. Let's assume this is 3. Heading 1, and heading 1 as well. So you're basically going throughout your document and applying the various headings. Now let's assume that we are ready to generate the table of contents. We simply scroll to the very top here, or wherever we want the table of contents, and let's assume we want to insert here a blank page of sorts. We click on Insert, Blank Page, and then go to the very top, and now we want to put in here the table of contents. We'll also assume that there's a cover page somewhere here for our report, but for now we just want to insert the table of contents. We go here under References, and then we click on Table of Contents. Then we pick one of those designs. It's going to create an automatic table based on heading 1, heading 2, heading 3 styles that we applied earlier in our document. So all I have to do is click on this, and there it is. So for example, this says on page 9, it's separation of privilege. If for some reason you changed the document and the page numbers shifted and that type of thing, then what you need to do is you need to go back to the top here and click on Update Table, and then click on Update either page numbers only or entire table if you applied new styles along the document and so on. So you click on that, and then the page numbers will be updated again. So that's how it works. Keep in mind here that if you hold the Control key and press click, it will take you to that specific section in your document. So it's a powerful tool to know how to use and how to do in your document. So this was from a scratch document. Now, in our existing document that we were working earlier, let's assume, not assume, but this was actually our previous document here that I had our tutorial on Microsoft Word. And let's say here on page 2, purposefully I had left this empty. Now I want to insert the table of contents. Well, I can just simply go under Table of Contents 1 here, and notice the table of contents has been created utilizing the theme that we applied earlier from our design theme. So hopefully that is helpful. In this session, I'm going to demonstrate how to insert footnotes and endnotes in a document. This is primarily if you're doing a long report and you need further explanations and so on, and then endnotes sometimes for papers as well. So to insert a footnote, let's say PCs here, we want to put a footnote for the word PCs. So you go to the word in your document, and then you go under the References tab, and then you click on Insert Footnote. It's going to insert it at the bottom of the page, providing more information about your document. Click on it, and now in the very bottom here it says, it's telling me it's put a number 2 because there was apparently a number 1 earlier in there. Now in here I can put another explanation. Let's assume Dell PCs or whatever, or you can put a link to a website or things of that nature, just any type of explanation. Now, if you're in the same document and you're inserting another footnote, that's going to make it as number 3. If that part of the document was to shift to the next page, for example, this Manager 3 here, for example, let's move this to a different page. Now notice that is as number 3 on this specific page. It has been moved to the other page. If I wanted to insert another one, of course the process is going to be the same. It's going to change the number to 4 and so on in your document. If we wanted to insert endnotes, so we click here on Insert Endnote. The endnotes will actually be notes that are inserted at the very end of the document. So here in my case, I have a 26-page document. This will be inserted at the very end of this document. So click here, Insert Endnote, and notice it's going to put a different numbering system there, and this is where you could put your explanation for whatever you are trying to explain. Okay. So that's how footnotes and endnotes work in a document in Word 2016. In this session, I'm going to demonstrate how to use citations and bibliography and managing sources for references in a document in Microsoft Word 2016. This is a very powerful tool, and I strongly suggest that if you're a student anywhere, take advantage of this. This tool allows you to insert sources of information for a book or article or other material, where it came from, and then as you're utilizing it for multiple papers, it also builds a repository of the source resource manager stuff within your master list here. So here's how it works. So basically, let's say this is something that we are citing. So let's assume we copied this and now we want to cite it. What you do is you first have to determine what your style of writing is, whether it's APA or MLA. So I'm going to pick at this point APA. Basically, you just have to do this once for all your papers or for that course or whatever you're for that document. And then you click here on Insert Citation. You could insert an existing one or you add a new source. So in this case, let's say it's a book. And the author here, you can click on Edit, or you can simply type it here. You enter the title of the author, and then you put the year when it was published, the city, and then the publisher as well. You could also insert here additional fields if you needed to, as to what volume it is, the number of volumes, the title, pages, and so on. Then you click OK. Notice at this point for the APA style, this is how you would cite this source. Last name, comma, 2016. Now we go to another part of the document here, and let's assume that this was another section that we want to cite. We put in parentheses, and now we go here under citation and then add a new source. Notice that under the new source you can pick other things as well. So for example, you could pick a journal article, you could pick a periodical, a conference, or a report, a website, a recording, and so on. All of these are the small technicalities that are complicated to remember, but this is a tool that makes it easy for you how to cite it. So for example, an article from a website, you could simply click here, a website, so a document from a website, and you put in the author. Notice you also have examples here. So in this case, we are going from to the web. So we go here to the website, and let's say this is the article, Can Laws Keep Up with the Tech World? And it was written and published on such and such a date. So now the author, in this case, it would be Bruce Schneier, or however you say it. And then we go to our document, and then we'll just put the author in there. The name of the web page. The name of the web page is the title of the article. I'm just copying and pasting it. The name of the website. So this would be, for example, CNN.com. The year 2015. So actually we want to put the year in there, the date that it was published. So notice it was updated on November 21st, 2015. So we put here year 2015, the month, December, and then the day, 21. And then you also need to put in there the URL for this article. So we copy it, and then we'll paste it in there. And then we simply click OK. Now it puts it the right formatting for it, and it's good to go at this stage. Now let's say that somewhere else, now notice I'm going up in my document here. Let's say that this is my other section here. that I want to cite. And now, let's say this is a section here. And by the way, if you are doing this for an actual paper, you probably have to make this reformatted so it's an inch from each corner if it's more than 40 words and all that type of thing, based on the rules and such for the formatting of the style here. But let's assume that I'm simply citing this for now. I can go ahead and click here on Insert Citation, and I could even pick an existing citation. Now notice here under Manage Sources, I used two of them in this document, those that have the check marks. Those are existing or new ones that I just entered. However, there's also this other one right here that I could utilize to cite in this document. But basically, this is a list of other sources that I have done other research, for example, this first one. Now, what I could do is I could utilize this in my document here, in my paper. So all I have to do is I go here under Insert Citation and pick that source to be included. Now, let's suppose that I'm done with all my citations for this paper, and now I want to insert the bibliography or the works cited. So what I'll do is go here to my document and insert a new page. I go and insert, let's say, a page break or whatever. Basically, I'll just do a page break for now. And now on the next page, I want to insert the bibliography. I go under References, and then I click on Bibliography. And notice it gives you multiple options here. You have Bibliography, References, and Works Cited. That will depend on the type of research that you are doing and what your paper or professor requires. So for example, if I wanted bibliography here, here's my bibliography. And it has the word bibliography. By the way, it's putting everything also alphabetically, automatically, and it's formatting and italicizing and doing all that redundant work automatically for you. Now, if you wanted to see what the difference is between bibliography and works cited, it's you can just click on this and insert works cited as well. And pretty much, I think it's about the same, but it depends on what your paper requires. And so that's basically using Works Cited and Citations tool here. It's a very powerful tool. It helps you manage your resources and your sources, and it keeps track of where you're getting your sources for your long research paper. I'll strongly suggest that you utilize it. In this very brief session, I'm going to demonstrate how to insert a caption for a specific object in a document in Microsoft Word 2016. So suppose that you have all these images or charts or objects within your document and you want to reference them through your document. So what you do is you click on the object here, you go under References, and then click on Insert Caption. And then you just choose figure 1 or whatever the label that you want. And let's say you want it below the item. Just click OK. And now notice it says figure 1. Now you come to the next thing here, and you do the same. That says figure 2. You could also type it right here and simply click OK. And you can further customize it if you need it. So that's basically how you insert captions for various objects within your document in Microsoft Word. In this session, I'm going to demonstrate how to perform a mail merge in Microsoft Word 2016. The process is actually very similar to other versions of Microsoft Word as well. It's not identical. However, I'm going to go over it here in Office 2016. So let's say I have this long document here, and I want to do a mail merge and send this to individuals. For now, I'm going to create a new page here. I'm going to insert a new page, and I'm going to put their their information in there for my users or clients, let's say. So in this case, I'm going to go under Insert, and I'm going to insert a page break, so just so that I have a blank page here to start with. And then in here, I'm going to make it so that this document can be customized for each individual. It has their address and their name and some kind of information as well. And by the way, this doesn't have to be a document like this. It can be a blank document, a letter that you sent. It could be invoices. It could be whatever notices that you send out there. It's very similar to letters that you receive from various companies out there that have your name on top of it. You have to have a document in Word, and you have to have an Excel document as well. And that's best to use Excel. Of course, you can have other options as well. So let's assume this is the list of my customers. I have their first name, last name, the street address. Of course, this is all fictitious, zip code, and then a bunch of email addresses. And you could have also comment 1, 2, 3. So this would be customized, personalized comments. So this is what the comment that I could write, for example, for customer 1. Now, customer 2, I would say, and so on. Now, one key thing to remember as well as you build your list in Excel is that the first row here needs to have the field names, or it's best to have the field names. So first name, last name, telephone, street address, and keep those separate as well if you can. Keep as many fields as you want here, or columns with comments, because you can utilize this for multiple mail merges. And the way you'll be doing it is that you can link the same data file, and you keep on updating this from month to month, and you link it to the same report or the same mail merge that you do for your customers. So in this case, let's say we are all good to go here. We have maintained this list. This is our customer list, and so on. Notice that the tab here on the bottom, it says customer. So now I'm going to save it. I'm going to close it, and then I'm going to go back to my document. Now in here, I want to create a new mail merge. So I go under mailings, and then I go under start mail merge. And the best thing to do is, or what I'd suggest that you do is, click on step-by-step mail merge wizard. In here, notice that there is pane in the right hand side shows up, and it asks you, do you want to create letters, email address, email messages, envelopes, labels, and so on. So you can do emails, and that's a powerful feature, and I'll try to demonstrate that in another video here or shortly here. Or actual letters like the old days that you used to do, print them in a paper and stuff them in an envelope and send them and that type of thing. So for now, we're going to learn how to do letters. We click on next step to start the document. It says, do you want to use the current document that we have opened here, or do you want to start from a template, or do you want to use an existing document that you have from some other time? So I say I want to use the current one, and then the next step here is to select the recipients. Now it says, do you want to use an existing list, or do you want to create a new list? In our case, we are going to use an existing list, that Excel file that I opened a moment ago. Also, you can use Outlook if you use Microsoft Outlook as well. Now, type a new list. You can do it from here from Microsoft Word. However, I'd recommend create a list in Excel if you're going to have to create a new list, because it's much easier to manage in the future and update. So we click here on use an existing list. We click on browse, and then we have to find the file. So now we scroll up here, and I'm going to go to Word 2016, and this is my customer list for the mail merge. I click on open. That's my Excel file basically. And here is my customer table. Notice there are two sheets in there, but I want to use, remember I mentioned earlier, customer. Click OK. Now notice this is the list of all the customers in that Excel spreadsheet. You could also sort them a certain way if you wanted, so you can sort them alphabetically by first name, by last name, and all that type of thing. And then you can also filter them if you needed to. So let's say you want only by a specific zip code or by a specific criteria and so on. You could basically simply click on filter and choose a field name. And let's say here's a zip. And you would say zip equal to some number or greater than some number and so on. So in this case, I'm going to cancel that. You could find duplicates to avoid sending duplicates. And then you simply click on OK here. At this point, we are ready. We have told the system that we're going to use the existing document and an existing list. Now the next thing it says, write your letter. Now in my letter here, it's saying, well, put in your address block. I could put this by clicking on it, or we could insert the fields manually. I would recommend that you tinker with it manually. So you could say, dear and then choose here the insert field option. So dear first name. The computer will put the first name in there. Then you go to the next line here, and then you start writing your letter basically. Now, the other thing you could do is in here you could put their address so that it would be part of the envelope or however it's going to show up. So we click here under insert field, first name, space, last name, and then insert field, street address, city, comma, state, and the zip. Now those look coded, but the computer is going to pull them one by one and match them with the Excel spreadsheet, so don't panic on that. Now in here you would write your letter. You'd say below is the annual report for your investments. Let's assume this is an investment report. And if you have any concerns, please contact us. You could also insert here, remember in Excel we had a comments field, you could put a comments field in here. Now at this point you put your name there. You could also insert an image if you needed to, or a logo, or whatever part of your, it's going to be duplicated across all the pages. Now at this stage you could simply actually save this. If you were to save it at this point, and you'd give it a name. Now the next step is, the reason why I saved it is because you could at any point open this and it's going to pull your data automatically from your Excel file if you needed to do another mail merge in 6 months or whatever. Now the next thing here, notice it says preview your letters. So notice it says this is the address, Alex, and so on. And you could kind of preview them right here. Next, next, next. Now a lot of people, they stop here, but you need to finish to complete your merge. You can click here under complete merge, and then you can either choose to print them or edit individual letters. Notice there's also a finish and merge option on the top here as well. So in my case, particularly what I usually prefer to edit individual letters, and then I'm going to choose all of them. Now it's going to take a little while because I had 29 pages here and I have a lot of customers. So notice now we have one letter or long report for every one of the customers here. So notice we have here, the first one is for Alex, and now we have to keep on scrolling because this is a long report. And now here's Amber, that's the next customer. And again, like I mentioned, it's going to be a long one. So suppose you have 2 or 3 pages, and this would be much more meaningful. But basically, we're creating a personalized report here for each one of the customers. And here's for the next third one. Keep in mind, again, the key there is that this is the output at this stage. If we were to look at the documents that I have opened here, and apparently I have many of them, but this is the one with merged results. It says letters, one word. This we can actually trash it after we are done with it. We don't need to save it unless you need it for documentation purposes. This is our form. So at this point, if I close this and I save the changes, if I go to open this again, so this was the one for mail merge form, notice it prompts you, it says opening this document will run the following commands. Select from customer order by first name and last name. Do you want to update it? Yes. And now it's linking it to the Excel file. Now at any point we can go here under mailings and it's ready. We can simply click on finish and merge, and it's going to merge all of those just like it did earlier. So hopefully that is helpful. And keep in mind, again, before I end this session, that you can always update the Excel file and you can always reuse the form file. The results page, the merged results, you don't necessarily need to save them unless you need to keep them for documentation purposes as to what you sent out. In this brief video, I'm going to demonstrate how to create an email merge to contact customers via email and send them customized emails with their name and specific information pertaining to their account or pertaining to them. So the way it works is that you have to have an Excel file where you're keeping track of the data. By the way, this does not have to be just Excel. It can be data in Access database. It could be data pulled from another system and so on. It could be data from Outlook and so on. But the simplest way is to have it in an Excel file. It's important that on the first column here you'd have the actual field names for what they stand for. For example, this column stands for first name, and it has all the first names and the last name and then telephone number and so on. The labels here on the top, we'll use them from within Word when we do the email merge. The other thing that you will need to have in order to do an email merge is that you need to have an email address or a field with the email address for each of the customers. Of course, the email shouldn't be exactly the same for all the customers, otherwise it will not really work the way you intend it to. In order for this to work is that you need to have Microsoft Outlook installed or a MAPI compliant email application installed. And usually if you have Office in your computer, the Microsoft Outlook client application comes with it, and most likely you are using it. Or in a business environment, you'd be using that. So the way this works is you'd go in Microsoft Word. So we can close the Excel file at this point. We go into Word, and we'll create a new document. It doesn't have to be a new one. You can use an existing email or an existing template from Word that you are using. Again, this works in conjunction with Excel and Outlook and Word. So we are using 3 applications from the Office suite. So in this case, we go under Mailings, and then we click on Start a Mail Merge. Then we go under Mail Merge Wizard, and then we go under Email Messages. The process is exactly the same as for creating labels or creating regular mail merge for letters. So the only difference is in the very end when it initiates using Outlook. So in this case, we'll go to next step here. We chose email messages, then start the document, and we are going to use the current document. If we wanted to use something else, we can pick one from here. Then we click the recipients. We have to tell the computer what the recipients. We're going to use an existing list, and we are going to click on Browse to find the list. Then we'll go under wherever we have our Excel file. So you'd know wherever you saved it before, and you'll pick usually the first field that shows up from your Excel file. If your Excel file has more tabs and you're using those tabs, then of course that's what you'd be picking here as well. Notice here it says first row of data contains column headers. You'll click OK, and then this is our data. We can filter it, we can sort it, we can do other stuff here, but for the sake of simplicity, we're not going to tinker with that, and then we're going to click OK. The next step here, it is to write the email message. So we click, and then we go to start writing it. We can say dear, and then insert the field, dear first name. And let's assume at this point that the order number was actually this one under customer ID. We're going to mix it at this point a little bit. So you put in that, and then you can put in other comments, and you can put in whatever other fields that you might be keeping from your data file. So now if we wanted to insert a coupon or whatever it may be, we go online here, we search under Bing for a coupon code. Let's assume that's the coupon. And let's say that's the coupon that we want to send. Now at this point we can format this a little bit better if we wanted to and customize it further. And the next thing is we can click on preview your email. Notice it says Dear Owen, thank you for a recent order 1105, and then we can go to the next customer here, and you can see dear John, dear Harry, dear Kathy, and so on. So you can see it. It's going to send them exactly the same email, but it's going to be personalized with their own name and also some kind of pertinent information related to them. Now in this case, we can click on complete the merge, and then the option here, which is different from regular mail merges, is that it's asking us for electronic mail. Then we tell it that the to field is in the email column for the Excel file. So if we had that labeled somewhere else or something different, then you would choose whatever the name of that column is. So in this case, I'm going to choose email, and then you can put a subject line. This will be the title of your email, as just like your regular emails. Then the format, you want to have the format, if you're going to use pictures like this, you want to make it HTML format. And then you'd simply click OK. Now at this point, the way it works is that the system is going to connect and utilize Microsoft Outlook, and it is going to send those emails one after the other. It's not going to be like a distribution list. It's going to be just one email after the other. Now be cautious and careful here that you don't blast everybody with this type of email or send the wrong email and you misuse the list. So basically, if I were to hit OK here, it is going to send those emails out based on the access on the Excel list. Now at this point, I'm not going to do that because we get the idea, I hope. And what you can do at this stage, if you go back to where you have the codes here, if something is not correct, you can always go back and correct it into the Excel file and then rerun it again. Now what you can do as well is that you can save this file, notice with the codes here, and if I save it, I'll give the name here on, and then if I'm to go back here after 2 weeks or 2 months or whatever, and I come back to Word again, and then go to open it, here's my sample email. Notice it's going to come up and ask me, do you want to link to the customer's file in Excel? Of course I want to say yes, and then from this point on we can go here under the steps and then choose just next basically, and here they are, and basically just complete the merge and do the electronic mail again. So basically you don't have to redesign the form all the time. It works exactly the same. You can save the form both in regular mail merges, in label mail merges, and email mail merges, and reuse the same form multiple times, and you just keep the Excel file up to date. And that's it, and that should do it. It's a very powerful tool, especially today and nowadays where you want to save money. Instead of spending 50 cents on each letter to send out, you can send them an email merge with personalized content in that email. In this brief session, I'm going to explain the process on how to create labels. The process is actually simpler than one thinks, or they're used to probably tinkering with it. But basically, all you have to have is Microsoft Word, and then the best is to use an Excel file. The Excel file could be a list of names. On the first row can be different labels, for example, the customer number, the company, the first name, last name, telephone, street address, city, zip, and so on. You could have here any other new fields as well. So this list, as you can see, you can create it by either extracting it from an existing system, or you can simply type those addresses and keep those in a list somehow, somewhere, by simply typing them one after the other. So then the next step here is, I'm going to close this. You don't need the Excel file open when you do this. And we need to go to Microsoft Word. Under Word, we need to click on Mailings tab here. So we click on actually a mail merge option here. And then we go under Step-by-Step Wizard. I usually recommend the Step-by-Step Wizard because it takes you step by step, as it says, in order to generate those labels. So we click here, and then we tell the system that we are going to create labels. Then click on Next to start the document. Then the next here is telling us that we are going to use the current document layout, or you can use an existing document if you want, but in this case it's going to be labels, just populate it with the basic names and addresses. If you wanted something where it says labels with other information, then you can simply type it here on the left hand side. Then the next option here is to choose label options. We need to tell the system what kind of labels are we using for this mail merge. Then here under label vendors, unless you have Microsoft, you need to change it to something else. And usually the most common one is the Avery US letter. Under Avery US letter, notice there are a lot of different ones. And usually when you go to the store and buy those, you'll have the number directly on the label. So it will tell you on the box of labels as to which number it is, which product number. So one of the common ones that we use is the Avery 5160, which tells me it's 1 inch in height and then 2.63 inches. So we click OK here. The next step here in the bottom, notice it says go to select the recipients. So we click on select recipients, and then you can use an existing list, you can use the contacts from Outlook, or you can type a new list if you wanted as well. But like I said earlier, it's easier to just type the list first in Excel and then you just utilize that list. So we go here under use an existing list, and then we go and find it and locate it. Click on browse, and then we are going to go here under week 3, and this is the customer list for mail merge. Now in here there are 2 tabs or 2 sheets in this spreadsheet. Now when I had this earlier, it was the first one, so basically I'm not going to open it again, but it's going to be one of the first ones. Usually when you open Excel, it's going to have 2 to 3 tabs that it starts with. So we'll pick the first one, and these are all the names. You could filter those names if you wanted, but for now we're going to leave everything alone for the sake of simplicity. Then we're going to go, and here on the first one we're going to click on Insert Merge Field. So we go here to the first label, and then we click on Merge, Insert Merge Field, and we say Insert First Name, a space, Insert Last Name, hit Enter, then Insert Street Address, hit Enter again, and then we are going to insert the city, comma, state, and then the zip. Now here is where pretty much everybody has problems, because the labels don't populate through all the fields. So the next thing what you need to do here is we click on Arrange Labels, and then the next thing what you have to do here is click on Update All Labels. So before you go and preview them, you want to update the same information that you see here to all of the labels all over in that same sheet. So the computer will do this automatically for you, and this is just for the labels. You click on Update All Labels, and notice it's a whole bunch of stuff in there. Then we click on Preview Your Labels, and notice the information is posted. If for some reason we want to change something here, we could go back to the previous step where the code stuff is, highlight it, let's say the first and last name, we want to make it bold. Click on bold there. If you want to put the word to, we could do that right in front of it. But then remember to update all labels again, and that will populate all the labels. Then preview your labels, and then complete the merge. You can preview them, how it's going to look page by page by page, but basically the last step what you want to do is complete the mail merge. You complete it, you could print it, or you can click on Edit Individual Labels. If we click on edit individual labels, click on OK, this is the final product. So the final product here, basically, it's the whole merged results. This, you shouldn't have to tinker with it. If something is not correct, it is recommended that you go back to your Excel file. I'm not going to save the results here. You go to your Excel file, you change whatever you need to change, and then you come here to the previous step, which, by the way, you can save this form, and you can save it particularly with the codes at this stage, and anytime you run it in the future, it will actually pull from the same list of addresses and list of information. You just have to keep the same file, the data file, and the form, this is referred to as the form file, in the same folder. It's basically the same folder, or linked it, the same structure that it was to start with. And then once you change something, you just go back to preview the labels and complete the merge all over again. So that's how the labels work. In this brief video, I'm going to demonstrate how to use the track changes feature. So basically what happens is that when working in a team or working with other individuals across the country or the world or next to your desk, you can have the same document and then pass it around, and then everybody makes changes, and all these changes are tracked between the different individuals. So what we can do here is we can go under, let's say when you open Word, you are on the Home tab to start with, but then you want to track the changes. Then you go under the Review tab, and then you click on Track Changes. Under Track Changes, what it does is that any changes from this point on, the system is going to keep track of them. So if I go and delete or make this bold, it's going to keep track of it, that it was changed. And then if I go and delete, or let's delete that part of it, it's going to tell us that this was changed as well. Now notice it shows these changes on the right hand side, or they are minimized. If you hide them, there will be these red marks here on the left, but if you want to expand them, it just shows you what happened. So basically any changes, even spaces that you add to the document, are going to be tracked. So then what happens is that the document gets passed around from one person to the other. Each individual can, by the way, it will have your name in there posted as well, but each individual can also choose a different color if they need it to. Once the document comes back to you as the reviewer, what you can do is then, and I'm going to just simplify it here, make it somewhat a little bit simpler, and then you as a reviewer, you come back here and you say, okay, this was made in bold. If you like that change, that it was made in bold, you accept it. Notice there's a drop down. Accept it and move to the next. And it implements that change. Then if you go over here, this was fine the way it was. So what you do is you just simply reject it and move on to the next. And then this one, Word 365, there's no need for the dash there. So all we have to do is just reject it. So you're going through the document and accepting and rejecting specific changes that were made to the document. Now what you can also do is that you can lock the tracking as well, so somebody cannot turn off the tracking of the changes in the document accidentally or on purpose. And the way you do that, you just simply click in there, put a password, and then if somebody wants to turn it off, they can't until they enter that password. Now this next thing is very important for you before you send the document around outside of the organization particularly. There are cases where basically if you go here, you can go and look at the original, you can go and look as to what was changed and suggested. You don't want somebody else outside of your team to see the comments and to see all the adjustments that were made to the document. So what you can do is you can go under File and then inspect the document. So under Info here, you can click on Check for Issues, and then you can choose to inspect the document. This checks it for hidden properties and personal information before you send it out. So we say yes. And now we are going to make sure that all the comments, revisions, and annotations are taken out. Any personal information is taken out, any XML data, and so on. So we click on Inspect. It goes and cleans it out for us. And then you can re-inspect it again, because notice it's saying that there is still personal information. You could remove all the personal information. You could remove all kinds of other stuff here as well if you need it. However, the comments and the revisions and the annotations have been successfully removed. So you can re-inspect it again and then remove whatever you want manually. Then click on Close. At this point, the document should be good to be sent out. In this brief session, I'm going to demonstrate how to use the compare feature between between two documents in Word 2013 or Word 365. So let's say this is one of my documents here. I'm going to save it. And I want to compare this with another version of another document. So what you do is you click on, we are on the Home tab at this point. We want to go under the Review tab, and then we click on Compare. We want to compare two versions of a document. So we're going to put the original document here on the left, and the original document is version 2. So I need to find it. In this case, I can't see it over there, so I'm going to, here it is. This one is the original, and the revised version is the modified version 2. I'm going to check it for all of these properties, whether tabs were added, tables, fields, anything. And then I click OK. At this point, this is a combined view showing the changes between one and the other. So notice the word more effectively. Here it was deleted. And if we keep on scrolling down, display, the word display was deleted as well. The word editing was deleted, and so on. So I just changed a couple of the words in this case. The other thing that you can do is you can go here under Compare, and then under Show Source Documents, you can click on Show Both of them. And then we'll be able to see them side by side as to what was changed in each one of them. So here's the original over here, and that's the revised version of it. Notice the word more to communicate. One has more effectively, the other one doesn't, and so on. So that's how you can use the compare feature between the two documents. And then down here is basically a summary of what changed specifically for both documents and where the revisions were. It works. It's not ideal and perfect, but it's somewhat effective. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to utilize macros. Macros are a great tool while you are working in a document, particularly when you have to perform various repetitive tasks. So instead of you doing one thing over and over and over again through all the different steps, what you can do is you can record all of those steps in a macro, and then you simply execute that macro. So here's how it works. To get to the macros, all that we have to do is we go under the View tab in Word, and then we go under the Macros option here. Then we click on Record Macro. In this case, I'm going to record bringing up labels, for example, label Avery 5160. So instead of you having to do all of those steps time after time, you simply execute the macro. So we click here on Record Macro, and then we'll give it a name. Now, it says that assign macro to, you can assign the macro to a specific button, which would be an icon here somewhere in the quick access toolbar or somewhere. So you can assign to this macro a button or a keyboard shortcut. So in this case, I'm going to assign a button. And then notice it says new macro, macro 1. You can change the name if you'd like. And then I'm going to add this. Notice it's going to be on the quick access toolbar. But I'm going to add this also to the right hand side here. So I want to customize my quick access toolbar. So I want to click on add, and then I'm going to click OK. All that is going to do is it put this icon over here. Now notice that at this point next to the mouse there's this little cassette tape. That means that every step or every click that I perform from this point on until I stop it, all of those steps are going to be recorded. So now to insert a label, usually you'd go under mailings and then you'll go under labels. Once you go under labels, we need to go here under options, and then we'll pick the specific type of label that we want. We said earlier that we wanted Avery 5160. So we go here under label vendors and we will want to change this to Avery. So you choose Avery US leather. And then the number here, it actually depends on the box of labels that you purchased from the store. So we want here 5160, for example. And there it is. So we click OK. And then here we click on New Document. Now notice it brought and it designed this document to be that type of label. So this is where we want our macro to stop. So at this point, all we have to do is we click here under View, we go back to Macros, and we choose Stop Recording. So now the macro has been recorded and all the steps have been recorded. Notice we have an icon here on the very top. So let's assume now another day came by and we want to create labels. So we go here under New, we choose Document, and all of a sudden we have a need for those labels for Avery 5160, and we don't have to go and search for the label, search for the vendor and all that type of stuff. So all we have to do at this point is we click on this icon here for the macro, and notice the label definition has been applied. So it's the same step for anything else that you do in a repetitious way within Word. All of those steps, you can record them exactly the same way. You can use macros to open a file from a specific location, or you can have it to create labels or put headers, footers, or whatever else that you do within Microsoft Word. So hopefully this was helpful, and that's how you record a macro in Microsoft Word.